Hi, this is Jim from Trek World, and today we're going to talk about one of Star Trek's biggest lies.
The following program is brought to you in living color by Trek World.
When we talk about the end of Star Trek in 1969, there's a legend that surfaces like a well-loved refrain. NBC canceled it because they couldn't see who was watching. Demographics weren't even in play.
When Star Trek was canceled, there was a strong group of fans, a large group of fans and viewers who were terribly upset. And the legend that has grown up about that is that the year Star Trek was canceled was the last year that the networks measured audience simply by numbers. The next year, they started measuring by demographics.
Now, in the very early days of demographic ratings, Nielsen began measuring television audiences in 1950, moving beyond radio to include data segmented by age, gender, and more, data that could be and was used to break out demo-specific ratings. So why are we even talking about this, Jim, you're asking? And we're talking about this, not surprisingly, because of the way that Gene Roddenberry reframed and therefore gave birth to this entire myth. You see, after cancellation, Roddenberry framed the narrative. NBC, quote, had no way of recognizing the college students were its most loyal fans.
Gene wanted to talk. He wanted to find someone intelligent out there to go ahead and talk to. And so he found him. He found the audience, which is something the networks never counted on, that these people could actually, have intelligence.
This statement has been a rallying cry. It's heartfelt and it's aspirational. But the reality? NBC did in fact see us. They just didn't count us as important. Now, according to historical accounts and executive papers, NBC did in fact note Star Trek's appeal among college-educated young adults. For instance, internal correspondence memos from the late 1960s, including some attributed to NBC executive Herbert Schlosser, acknowledged that Trek maintained a devoted audience, particularly among young adults. The network knew which audiences skewed younger and educated. By the mid-1960s, Nielsen was routinely supplying networks with breakdowns, ages like 18 to 34, 35 to 49, and even divisions by gender and education, for use by advertisers and programmers. So NBC was not blind at all to who was watching. This data could be broken down by age and other demographic factors.
If you have any videos, photos, or documents that you would like to donate to us, please feel free to send them to jim@trek-world.com or submit them via the web at submit.trek-world.com.
Advertisers were already questioning audience breakdowns. Things like how many were ages 18 to 34? 18 to 49, things of that nature. Networks received that information as part of their standard ratings reports.
And the people at NBC looked at the breakdown of the old ratings of Star Trek and said, boy, if we'd known all these young adult males were watching back then, we would have never canceled the show.
Decades later, Gene Roddenberry often described NBC as having no way of recognizing that college students were its most loyal fans. You see, NBC was not blind. The infrastructure to know the age makeup of audiences had been in place for years. But here's the quiet truth. NBC did in fact see us. They just didn't value the numbers. And there is a paper trail of NBC's awareness. While comprehensive internal memos remain in private archives, the public historical narrative notes that NBC repeatedly dubbed itself the leading network for upper-income, upper-educated young adults. The problem really was in the ratings. In its 1966 to 1969 run, Star Trek consistently underperformed in overall household ratings, consistently failing to crack the top 30 programs. In contrast, sitcoms like Bewitched and Gomer Pyle USMC, with broader appeal, dominated that metric. In fact, in the 70s, my household was one of the Nielsen households that used the viewer diaries.
That's the point where demographics came in. And then they started to say, aha, okay, if this is going to work out demographically, then maybe we've just got some of the wrong shows that we've been pushing.
The problem was a shifting industry that arrived really too late to benefit Star Trek. In the early 1970s, the television business had transformed. Demographic targeting, especially the 18 to 49 group, became the gold standard. NBC renewed All in the Family despite modest total households because its younger demo made it extremely valuable. Ironically, if Star Trek had launched just a few years later, its demo performance might have carried a lot more weight. But in 1966 through 1969, not quite yet.
Gene wanted to talk. He wanted to find someone intelligent out there to go ahead and talk to. And so he found him. He found the audience, which is something the networks never counted on, that these people could actually, have intelligence.
And I guess that's the tragedy and the triumph, isn't it? The real heartbreak that NBC saw young fans. Us. But they shrugged. The paperwork shows it. The viewer data shows it. What NBC wanted and what advertisers bought was mass reach. Trek delivered passion, not quantity. But that's the poetry, isn't it? Because the overlooked demographic, young, passionate, wise, us, kept Star Trek alive. Through syndication, conventions, endless letters, we redeemed ourselves long after the network executives had moved on. So the myth says NBC just couldn't see us. The truth? They saw us. They misjudged our value. And in the end, we proved them wrong. And if I may steal a line from Alanis Morissette, isn't that beautifully ironic? Star Trek taught us to see worth in what others dismissed. NBC failed to see that too. But fans, we saw it all along. And that's why Star Trek outlives the legend even today.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the recent video you done on YouTube, USS Enterprise, the origin story of Star Trek's iconic model. It's very informative. There are things about the left side of the model that I never did know, and you have just really done a lot of good research, and you have the best channel there is on anything including about Star Trek. Thank you.